real horror fan has had at least one experience of feeling out of place when compared with quote-unquote mainstream society, but I don't think there's ever been a really good attempt to understand why it is that people like horror. Like, most horror fans are generally normal people who have pretty good reasons for enjoying horror, but what are those reasons? The real reasons, not the ones they learn to tell people to make society leave them alone. That's what our podcast is about, interviewing people in the horror biz to find out what it is about horror that makes them happy. My name's Steve. I'm a bit of a psychology buff. My co-host is my friend Chris, who's a horror buff, and so far we've interviewed about 70 people in the biz and had a lot of fun with it, and wanted to share with you some of the highlights. In this set of excerpts, we're going to just share some of the fun stuff. If you want to hear the real meat of the conversations, come check us out on Apple, Google, Spotify, or you can just use the player on our website. In this set of excerpts, we're talking to actress Rebekah Kennedy, best known for her work in Two Witches, Bastard and a Dark Foe; Ash Hamilton, owner of the Horror Fix website and also a writer and director of Holes in the Sky, the Sean Miller story; and Eduardo Sanchez, writer, director, producer, known for his work with Blair Witch Project, VHS 2, and Exists. So you mentioned your sister had watched Carrie. Did you have anybody in your family who were fans of horror, or?
Yes, my dad and my dad's side of the family. I don't know about so much my grandfather, but my grandmother definitely. Like, she doesn't get scared at anything. Like, we'll try to take her to scary movies to try to get to her, and she like won't jump. Like, she's like a stone wall. Like, I'm like trying to find a movie where that makes her like actually scared. Maybe she's scared inside and is good at pretending. I don't know. But like, my mom will be like, screaming in the theater, and my grandmother's just like, exactly. But my dad loves.
I've seen worse.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, I've been around.
Are you in Cali or Florida?
I'm in California.
Oh,
okay.
Did Steve ask that question because he saw the same video as I did of Halloween Horror Nights in Hollywood?
No, because I know that there's one over in California.
Well, yeah, okay.
And we have one in Florida, so.
Duh.
Yeah. I haven't been to the one in Florida, but.
It's good. Only because I saw this video recently, and it just, I don't know if anything can top this, man. It was like spot on killer clowns from outer space. They had the
yes.
circus top, the big top tent, and they even had the guy outside looking for his dog.
Yep.
Like, he would do the bit every time someone walks by.
Yeah, and he would do the part where he was looking for his dog, and then he would touch the pole and he would like get electrocuted. They did all that, so they did that maybe a few years ago. Now I can't remember exactly what year, but it was obviously pre-pandemic. And we had never seen the movie, and so we watched the movie, and it's so fun. And then we went and did the maze, and it's like spot on to the movie. Like, it's creepily so. They did such a great job. I don't remember being afraid. I mean, there's obviously like some things maybe filtered in because you always have those like nightmares. But even normal people that don't watch horror movies have nightmares. So those are always there. But there was never a time where I remember like, oh, I can't watch, I'm too scared. Like, I go to Halloween Horror Nights, like we talked about, because I want to get the scares, and I'm like disappointed if I miss it or somebody else in front of me gets it. I'm like, no, like that was for, so.
That was for me.
So we have this, because they file you in like, and so like we'll walk slow so that we get separated from the group in front of us. Okay. And then, so that we'll get the scares. Cause I'm like, that's what we're paying for is like the heart jump and it's like talking about like, wow, that was really, really good. They got you good. So like, yeah, I've never really had a time where I didn't watch or didn't enjoy it, if that makes sense.
Is there anything that you've been terrified of as an adult in real life?
So like, because I've lost some friends recently, and I'm not so scared of the death part, like dying or being dead, because you won't know, right? You're dead.
Right.
But it's the dying part is terrifying to me, because I don't want to die in like some horrible way. Like, I'd prefer like my grandmother just died in her sleep. Like, she just passed away. And that's how I'd prefer. If we had a choice when, she was 95. So that would be great. It's
like that joke about wanting to die in my sleep like my grandfather and not screaming in terror like his passengers.
Like his passengers. Yeah.
Oh, I've not heard that one. That's good.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's me. That'll be me.
Actually, it occurred to me, did we ask that question for your teen years? I don't remember if we did.
Anything scary happen in your teen years in real life?
I mean, not as a teen, but as an adult, I'm pretty sure our first apartment was haunted.
Okay.
And then we found out that a woman had been murdered there. And when we were going to move out, I was like, why wouldn't you tell us before?
Because then you wouldn't have bought the apartment.
Right.
Yeah.
But funnily, not funny. This is not funny. I shouldn't have said that. Oddly enough, that we bought a house last August and the woman died in the house, but peacefully in her sleep. She was old. And I was like, everybody's like, it would be fitting that you would buy a house that somebody died in.
I mean, at this day and age, how common is it to not get a house where someone has died in it? You know,
What's funny is I was just going to comment that I retweeted a tweet that said I would respect ghost hunters a lot more if even once they would come into a house and go, nope, not haunted.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's always haunted by 1,800 people. What about people that died last week? It's like.
Yeah. I moved away and I was on the East Coast for a number of years, about 12 years, and then eventually moved back to the Midwest. And when I did, my mother and I started sort of that ritual again where I would come over and I don't know if this is the best example, but we would watch Human Centipede and order lava cakes from Papa John's.
That is a good combination. There is nothing wrong with that combination at all. Nope.
So good, and the result of so much PTSD. Yeah,
I can see no way in which this carefully laid plan can ever go wrong.
Chocolate has a new connotation.
So rich. I remember Trilogy of Terror with Karen Black having a profound effect on me as a kid. Mm-hmm. It terrified me, absolutely, terrified me to the core. And I had an older sister who did horrible things after I watched that movie to ensure that terror was instilled in there and was never leaving. As
older sisters do, it's kind of their job.
Oh yeah. She was very good. And we're talking about bad things that happen when you're a kid, but the amount of Vesuvius urinating at the stuff that she would do to me while I was trying not to think of the little Hatchet Man, the little Zuni fetish doll from Trilogy. It's pretty bad. Some heavy emotional trauma growing up, but
again, as sisters are wont to do, this is the way.
Yes, not to say that I didn't get her back, but that was also a constant too. Was this volley of horrible things that we sort of did to each other growing up?
Mm-hmm. Right. Again, siblings.
Yep. Yes, but that was one of the worst. Was because she had seen the look on my face as that little doll was trying to kill Karen Black, and I think she had to have just been smiling this enormous, shit-eating grin. There it is.
The wheels are turning. Yes.
Oh, I know what I'm going to do to him.
That's right. I'm gaining my foothold. Yeah. Okay. I thought if you got the ninja costume, then you could be a ninja. Sans years of crucial training. So I got the ninja costume, and I was horribly dismayed that first of all everyone could see me. I was loud and clumsy as always as a kid. And I'm like, this damn thing doesn't work at all.
Yes. So you thought it was the costume that was the thing that made the difference.
Oh, I thought for sure I'd have shurikens, throwing stars. I would become a lethal assassin at, 12 with my ninja costume. And instead I just almost passed out from the sheer weight of it.
To be fair, I'm sure that the people who were trying to sell you the costume did not disabuse you of that notion.
I bought it from a ninja magazine. The magazine was actually called Ninja. So I thought I had all of this worked out. Ninja magazine, ninja costume. Yeah. It was like a hall of mirrors.
You had the inside source.
Yep. Every way I looked, it was ninja.
Somebody was talking about when they would play a game. I was watching some video the other day, and they were talking about a game, and they were trying to beat around the bush of the title of it. It's it was whoever got the ball would be tackled, and I'm just thinking, Smear the Queer. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was a game that we played as children. Yeah.
Right. Which should have told you right then that there's definitely a connection between organized sports and wanting to pile upon someone that you ultimately thought was also gay.
Right.
Yep. It's a weird game. It's oh, look at that person. We absolutely hate them for everything they are. But I think we should probably go ahead and get on top of them for they will not allow us.
Something wrestling team.
Right. Yeah. There was a huge need to be in a horrible, sweaty, grotesque knot with a bunch of spandex on. But yeah.
Well, different people have different needs, yes.
And luckily, I never really had a problem with grades. So that was something that kept me very heavily involved in my interest because there was no real pushback. It wasn't a thing where, my parents were coming to me and going, your grades are failing. My grades were always, fairly good, so there wasn't a lot that they could come at me with that was like, what you're doing is not working. Like, no, I'm juggling and I'm doing okay.
Right. It's like, there's alcoholism and then there's the term of being a functional alcoholic. Right. You were a functional horror fan.
I was able to get up. Some people didn't even know it. I took lunch at the same time. Yeah, definitely a functional horror.
I like the way there's some people didn't even know it. Again, like functional alcoholic. We didn't even know.
No clue. I passed out in gym class a couple times, but we just thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
At that point, when I saw it, in the early 70s, to me that was like, okay, that's real footage. Mm-hmm. They're interviewing the guys who did it, who filmed it. Like, this is real. This is like a documentary. This is like a news program. Mm. And I think that's where like the early kind of seeds of Blair Witch were born, And
I was just going to say,
Dan, Dan, the guy I wrote, Dan Myrick, I wrote the movie with, and I came up with the idea with, he felt the same way. Like that Patterson Gimlet was like the triggering mechanism for a lot of that.
I was thinking as we were talking about all this that I do find it amusing that someone who actually was afraid of Bigfoot in your childhood then was the one that got involved with Blair Witch. So there's definitely some pulling from experience, shall we say?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I knew what, scared me, mm-hmm. And, the that kind of footage. And then also just the idea of camping, camping like at night, it's all fun and stuff. And then once you go to sleep, you start hearing things. And mm-hmm. So just the fear of the woods, I think the last time I went trick-or-treating, I went with a friend and he pretended to be blind and to get more candy. And at that point, after that night, I was like, I think I'm done with trick-or-treating.
Right? Like, it wasn't like turned off from trick-or-treating because you got too old. You're just like, I don't like people taking advantage of this.
I was just like, this is it. I mean, I'm done with this. It's too much.
What are we doing here?
Exactly.
If I want candy, I'll just go, get a bag of it. It's like, and also just laziness also, so he stops and we all get out of the truck and we walk to the, around and we walk to the front of the thing and literally like maybe 10 feet in front of the truck was like this 30-foot drop off. So we would have all died. Like I would have been thrown. I was in the back of the truck and Alani and the guys inside would have been killed too. I mean, that car would have head right into the dirt at, 50 miles an hour or whatever. Like it would have.
Right.
So we all just stood there staring down death. Like we were literally like, 10 feet away from that pickup truck going over the edge of that hill and like and just destroying our lives. Like if not death, it would have been bad. Mm-hmm. That really kind of, calmed us down and was like, we should go home. We should just go home. You learn things, man. And I think at that point, from that point on, we were more careful, we were like, we got, so it was at least a lesson for us, it's like we went out and started doing the same thing. Like definitely a lesson, but I just remember like riding home and just being like, holy, like just going over the possibilities of how that night could have ended,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, full disclosure, I took a peek at your Facebook profile before the show, and that is an impressive collection, sir.
Yeah, no, and honestly, like I don't really show it off too much because I'm afraid that somebody's going to rob me,
Yeah.
but it's like it's gotten to the point now where like it's become sort of a liability to me. Like I've stopped buying, so much Star Wars stuff, and I'm like trying to get rid of some of it now. Mm-hmm. So in my dream, there's always this level of like, I'm packing, and then I discover that there's a closet full of Star Wars toys that I bought while I was there, and I'm like, oh my god, what am I going to do with these? I got to find a box, and There's always like this, so that's, I'm lucky because that's kind of where I don't have like super terrifying dreams anymore. We were at the house that we shot the last scene in. This is before we were shooting, but it was like around the same time because I remember a lot of people being there, and we were just there kind of scouting. And I was left alone in that basement by myself, and I didn't realize it. I was like kind of just looking around and looking at the walls and it was dark. It was getting dark, so everybody was leaving. And all of a sudden, I realized that I was alone in the house.
You're like, no, wait, guys.
Like, there's nobody. I mean, you always heard people upstairs or whatever. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm alone. And it was kind of tricky getting out of that house before we like worked on it a little bit before the production, because the stairs up to the first floor were like, there was no stairs. It was all kind of tattered. And then there was a hole leading into the basement, into the cellar, where I guess the cellar door had been at one time. But it was just, you had to like climb over bricks, and it was just really not a great place to be stuck in. And I remember just flying out of there, and I'm like, wait up for me. Like, everybody was like down in the woods already.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, come check us out over at horrormakeshappy.com, or check out some of our other excerpts until you find someone whose interview you do want to hear.